Okay, good evening and welcome to the June 9th meeting of the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals here at Falmouth Town Hall. Calling the meeting to order and ask everyone to please silence their cell phones at this time. I'll introduce the board, starting at my far right. Your far left is Jerry Patamas, who is an associate member of the board. To his left is James Morse, who is a full voting member. My name is TJ Hurry. I'm the chair of the board. To my left is Bob Dugan, who is the board's clerk. Also with us tonight is Noreen Stockman, who is the zoning administrator, and Ashley DeMello, who is the recording secretary for the night. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying zoning bylaws for the town, and we consider requests for special permits, variances, and appeals as provided in the bylaws, which have been approved by town meeting and the Attorney General's office for the Commonwealth. All decisions the board makes are made through the public hearing process. The board's goal is to hear testimony from the applicant, from the public, and also to allow a full and fair discussion of the project prior to rendering a decision. To begin each hearing, the clerk will read the public announcement of the hearing and then present any pertinent information from the file, such as referrals from town departments and summarizing correspondences to the board. The applicant or the applicant's representative will then have 15 minutes to make a presentation, and time may be extended by vote of the board. The board will then question the applicant, and the public will be invited to comment as well. Public comment should only be directed at the project itself. We ask you to please refrain from making any personal or derogatory statements. Public comment can include an opinion in favor, in opposition, or it might just simply be a question about the nature of the project. The chair will limit discussion in the interest of time in the event that comments become repetitive. All members of the public wishing to speak should wait to be recognized by the chair, and once recognized, you can come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record. We do limit public comment to 2 minutes per person, and while you are standing behind the podium, we ask you to remain behind there and speak into the microphone that's up there. Microphones in the room in front of us and behind the podium, they are not meant for amplification purposes within the room. They're meant for people watching at home on FCTV. The board will then either close or continue the hearing. When the board is satisfied that enough information has been presented by testimony and in the file to make a decision, by motion and vote of the board, the hearing will be closed. In the alternative, we may continue the hearing to a future date and time certain. After a hearing is closed, no more testimony may be taken. And as for board discussion and decision, the board may then further discuss the project among ourselves. We'd make a motion to deny or approve that would be made and voted upon. Such a motion will include a summary of key findings and conditions. An affirmative vote of 4 members, which is a supermajority, is required for approvals of motions on special permits, variances, and appeals. A split vote, such as a 3-2 vote, would be a failure to carry and would result in denial of the project. Under Massachusetts general law, if a special permit is denied, the applicant cannot return to the board for 2 years unless the project is substantially different. All right, so turning to the agenda for the night, we do have public comment, followed by 1 continuation and 4 new hearings. Up first for the night is public comment. This public comment period is meant for something that is not on the agenda. So if you're waiting to speak on a project, just wait for the appropriate time in the evening. But with that having been said, is there anyone out there with anything to say on something that is not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Start with our continuation, application 15-22, Cushing, 90 Nantucket Ave in Falmouth, requesting a special permit to construct a half-story addition to the non-conforming single-family dwelling, creating additional living space.
And just to the chair, so there was a shadow study that was submitted to the file, along with an update regarding the shower, which is now going to be a rinse station, the outdoor shower.
Thank you, Bob.
And I think you've got my Mullen rule that I reviewed the minutes, and I also submitted a approval from the board saying, since I lived within the specified distance, I didn't have a conflict.
All right, thank you for that, Sherry.
Well, I was looking at Noreen to make sure she got it.
No, sure. Bob, is that in there?
Yeah, I think this is what we said. Yep, I have the Mullen rule and the
Okay, so Attorney Clower, you can see that we're running a short bench tonight. Previous members voting on this project are myself, Scott Stalinsky, Bob Dugan, James Morris, and Scott Peterson. You can see there's only 4 of us. Scott Stalinsky is no longer on the board, being now on the select board, and Scott Peterson is not here. And if you are willing to accept Jerry, given his disclosures and his approval from the select board, you can have 4 members, and
Absolutely. That sounds great.
you know that 4 needs to be unanimous vote.
I don't see any real alternative, so that sounds fine.
So you've been here enough to know that I
Yep.
have to say all that.
Yep, no, I do appreciate it. For the record, my name's Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney here in Falmouth, and I'm representing David and Wendy Cushing, the owners of 90 Nantucket Avenue. It's been a little bit of time since our last hearing, so I want to go through what we submitted and also just a brief recap of the application. They're seeking permission to alter the existing non-conforming dwelling at the property. Following the last meeting, we reviewed the 2007 special permit and plans. Staff was kind enough to provide a copy of the plan that was approved. And our engineer did confirm that the approved lot coverage by structure in the original special permit decision did not include any steps or stoops. So all of the landings and steps and stoops that add lot coverage were not included in that calculation. Our engineer also wanted to point out that that plan was measuring setbacks and lot coverage to the foundation rather than to corner boards. And that doesn't sound like a big difference, but on a small lot like this, a few square feet does actually make a pretty significant difference. We also provided a shadow analysis, and I think it's fascinating, so I'll take a moment to go through that. What's shown here is, the anticipated shadows. What's shown in blue, the shadow that's shown in blue is the only new shadow. So all the gray shadow that's there is existing. So you'll see a small blue area here and here, a small blue area here, and a small blue area here and here. And those are the only new shadows that would be cast by this proposed addition. There's already substantial shadowing in this area. It's a dense neighborhood. But this addition will not have a significant impact on the effective shadow on adjacent properties. The applicant's proposal, as a recap, is a half-story addition which will serve as a family room and den, creating additional usable space. It's entirely within the existing footprint, has no impact on the existing nonconformities, either setbacks or lot coverage. The existing ridge height, which is 27 feet 8 inches, will increase to 33 feet 1 inch. That's an increase of 5 feet 3 inches, which is still below the 35 allowed by right. This does require a special permit. Well, it's a modification, but it also requires allowance under 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4. This proposal has no impact to the views and vistas from public ways, no effect of nitrogen on coastal embayments. Has the same number of bedrooms as at present and the number allowed by the sewer system. We've shown little change to the effective shadow. And the proposal remains consistent with many surrounding homes. We submitted that lot comparison worksheet, which shows that, as proposed, this dwelling would be almost exactly at the median of the neighborhood. The applicant's proposal is an improvement for the applicants. It will do so in a way that does not negatively impact the neighborhood, with no impact on the existing nonconformities, and doesn't create any new dimensional nonconformities. I can't find any adverse effects that would overbalance the benefits here, and I believe it is in character with the neighborhood. As such, I believe this meets the requirements of 240-10.2A, 11.3A4, and 240-12.1E. I'd be happy to address any questions that the board has, but otherwise I would ask that you grant the special permit.
Thank you, Attorney Clower. Board questions? Jerry, do you have anything?
I thought there was a question about the cobblestone driveway in the
So-
front, the parking.
Yep, so they've shown, on this plan here, they're showing they're gonna remove this apron and cobble edging to be removed in this area, and they'll have to obtain a license for the remaining cobblestone apron.
Okay,
Anything else, Jerry?
no, thank you.
All right. Anything?
Yeah, Attorney Clower, thank you for the shade study. That clears up a few of the questions I had. My question, going back to the 2006 special permit, I think the condition was that lot coverage was not to exceed 24.95. Your testimony today is that it's because stoops and steps were not calculated in? That's the only thing that wasn't
So
calculated in?
that, and then there you see a storage bin on the right side of the house, that's 50 square feet. There's no garage, there's no shed, there's no other storage. You know, if they were to get rid of that, they could have 5 plastic bins that would look like hell. But this is a storage thing that you could pick up and move. We're counting it as lot coverage because we think it's questionable, and I'd rather count it than not. But you could move this with two men, two people.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, James. Bob, anything?
No, my questions are also in the lot coverage. So the previous special permit allowed 24.95, which is under the 25% that we're allowed to give a special permit for. Currently, it showed it's at 29.5, which is over the 25% that would have been allowed. I guess my issue is just procedural. I would think you would apply for a request for the differences between the original applied permit.
Well, I think this was constructed in 2007. Anything built over 10 years ago becomes legally non-conforming.
So do you have anything that shows that those bins and those other things were?
I don't know about the bins, but the stoops, I don't know the specific date of the bins, but the stoops and stairs were all part of the house construction. And that's really the biggest issue here in terms of lot coverage. Like I said, the bins, if the board were to require that those be removed, they're gonna have to get something to store those
So my
things in.
question on the bins would be, because they're there, they're considered structure. And if anyone
We counted
ever
them as structure.
tear down and rebuild.
We counted them as structure for that, because, but at the same time, if we had a plastic bin, a plastic locker, I don't think I'd count that as structure generally. This just happens to be a wooden bin instead of a plastic one.
Yeah, I wouldn't have as much issue if it was still under the 25%.
Sure.
My issue is that it went over what's actually allowed us to even give by a
Sure.
special permit. On the, you're removing the parking space that was in the road layout in front, correct?
Yep.
And they would probably go for a license for, wasn't there something on the other side?
There's a cobblestone apron there. And
then there was a mention regarding the shower, so is that,
so the shower's currently tied into the side of the house. When a shower's tied into the side of the house, it counts as structure. When it's a freestanding structure, it doesn't count. So we're gonna detach it.
that's all I have right now.
All right. And Bob actually had some of the same concerns that I did about the lot coverage, but no new questions from me. It's already been addressed.
I'm gonna follow up with the clerk. Was there, when I first looked at the file, I didn't see opposition. Has anything new come in? Anyone opposed to this?
No, it was just the original opposition that attended that one hearing, which was that neighbor next door that they did the shadow study.
Mhm.
And other than that, again, my only issue is procedurally, because it's over the 25%. And I understand about the stoops and steps. I would normally think that you do an advertisement that was based on what the original permit was, and if you needed to change it to what appeared on the lot over what was allowed, that would have been included in the original advertisement that went in, so that neighbors would be aware that it wasn't in compliance with the original permit.
So let's check to see if there's any public comment before we get into board discussion. Is
Sure.
there any public comment regarding this application tonight? Not seeing anyone? All right, so back to the board. Any additional follow-up questions for Attorney Clower, or did you want to jump into?
No, I guess
Conversation.
if you want to discuss it, that's really my, they have the shadow study, and it shows that one section does at one point, but it doesn't seem to be significant. Again, my worry is that this went over what was actually allowed even by special permit. And I know that at one point, there was a situation way back that had been in the file where there was a shed at one point that wasn't removed, and then they had to go and have it removed. And I don't know when the bins actually appeared on the house or not. You do have the stoops, which were included, and I assume that the size of that was probably included at the house. I think it was brought up by the administrator last time that even the back stoop wasn't the size that it was supposed to be, it was oversized. So I guess to you or the board and even the administrator, I just think it's a proper procedural issue that if people would have to get notice that the current property wasn't in compliance with the original permit versus just doing an addition on the top of the house.
Mr. Dugan, since the hearing hasn't been closed yet, if I can jump in for a moment. If that's a concern that the rest of the board shares, one potential might be to continue this and renotice.
And that's what would you, I mean,
What-
procedurally, what is?
Yeah, Attorney Clara, procedurally, would it be a withdrawal and allowing a refile?
I mean,
Or would it be a
I'd rather
continuance and a
I'd rather not do a complete withdrawal, just filing fees and time. I think we could continue with, if the board felt it was necessary. I think that, from where I sit, we have a structure that's in existence. We know the structure itself has been there for 10 years. I believe that the bins have been there for about that time. I don't know that for certain, and I'm not gonna make that claim. But we have an existing situation that we're trying to improve, because we are gonna reduce it as much as we can in ways that we can. I think that the structure becomes legally non-conforming, like we've discussed, after 10 years, when we're about 15 years now from the time it was built. To Mr. Dugan's point, there was a shed that was removed in 2007. I think shortly thereafter, they probably realized they needed storage space, because there's no garage and there's no basement, because it's in a flood zone. So rather than having, like I said, kind of tall, ugly plastic lockers, they have a more attractive wooden locker that's up against the side of the house. It's not built into the house, it's next to the house, could be moved. I think that the board could approve this if they choose to, or if there is a concern about the procedural aspect of it. I'd suggest perhaps we could continue it and renotice.
So can I ask a question, just to the administrator?
Sure.
Just because I've never dealt with a continue with a renotice, I've always had a withdrawal or something and a new notice. What is the procedure for a continue and a renotice?
Right, so I think that the potential problem here is where we have change in configuration of the board. There may be an issue with maintaining the same quorum to vote. So if you continued, you might not legally be able to vote.
Would that be true of Scott? Issues, does a Mullen report? I think he was on the original.
He was here for the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still down to 4.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we would be still down to 4, but he would have to elect to do the Mullen rule, so it's,
Have we done continuations with a renotice before? Because I've never,
I mean, the
And that's my issue with it, 'cause I'm not sure if we've ever done
The notice
that.
part is not as much of a big issue, except that the problem is that when you continue, you need to continue to a date and time certain.
yeah,
And I guess the question would be,
that's in
well, we
question.
could put it on there.
Well, I guess the question I would have is the notice deficient? I wouldn't believe it is, but
Well, I think the language of the previous special permit indicated that there was a limit to the 24.95% lot coverage, right? And that if that was gonna be changed, that there needed to be a resubmittal to the board. So I think the problem is that there's not notice discussing the lot coverage.
Okay.
So properly, that would be, I think, something that should be corrected.
So I guess it comes down to, do we feel that we need to withdraw to reapply, or could we continue with a renotice?
Yeah, so I guess if we have enough members and we have a member who could use the Mullen rule, that would be a possibility.
I mean, I think you're probably safer doing a withdrawal and a reapply with the differences, only because the reconfiguration, one person is out again, or there's an illness or a change, you're gonna be in the same situation again.
yeah. I think it's just cleaner, just as a matter of notice.
And I don't think we've done it before, a
Right.
continuation with a
I mean,
renotice.
I
But
think
also
you're
give
gonna
the
look,
applicant
I think
opportunity
you're
to
gonna
bring
look
in evidence that, yes, these stoops were put in at time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
The
at
stoops
that
have been
point-
there, there's no question, because I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I
the
mean,
actual.
It's a
I think-
representation, I'd rather have some
I
corroboration
think
of the
you
file.
could
that
potentially
shows
be
that.
looking at the same timeline, right? Whereas we could either way have it on the same hearing date. But, you know, where we're looking at that timeline, it might be more practical to withdraw. I mean, it's the board's choice.
Yeah. I'm more concerned about the procedural aspect of things rather than how the boards presently are, you know, how we're put together in the future. I know that we have more members coming on soon. But just procedurally, I'm more comfortable with a withdrawal and a refile with proper notice.
I would concur with the same thing.
How's the side of the board?
Yeah, it seems to be
Seems fair.
appropriate.
All right.
Could we expedite the next permit here? That way there'd be 5 people, there'd be 6 people, right? If he withdraws and reapplies, procedurally to be correct, there'd be a full board. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to do the mailing.
It depends who gets
Yeah,
appointed when.
depends who gets appointed, or who comes on the board and when.
Well, we
and
know who's
how
coming
many.
on the board.
But I don't know their appointment dates or anything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
Well,
legally, they would have to renotice and give
Anyways.
notice out to abutters, so there's the, yeah, it'd be about a month.
So we could probably put it on.
I would just be more comfortable with withdrawal.
Which actually
No,
probably isn't a big issue anyways, because I
fine.
don't think the board is meeting in most of July.
Oh, that's right.
I think we just have the 23rd, and then, so it's vacant time anyways.
July 28th, that's it.
Yep.
June 23rd, then July 28th.
So it's withdrawal without prejudice, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, withdraw
Because
without,
then
withdraw without prejudice.
they wouldn't be able to come back if we
allowing them
didn't do
to
that.
resubmit a corrected application.
Well, he doesn't have enough votes now to go ahead, so.
Would the board consider waiving the application fee? Just,
We can do that, sure, I'd be okay with that.
publication obviously will pay.
Publication,
Yeah, can we do that, Noreen?
Do we have the
Can-
purview?
publication plus.
No, but I-
Well, not the publication, but the filing, can we waive the
Does-
filing fee?
Does the board have the purview to waive the filing fee?
They have before. You have before.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could waive the filing fee, but we would need to request publication plus mailing.
Whatever
Of
you
course.
think
Yeah.
we're allowed to do.
Of course. That'd be great.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so,
So then
Is that a
the
request to
applicant,
withdraw?
yeah,
Yes,
okay.
I will make the request to withdraw
so then I will make a motion.
without prejudice.
I'll
Very good.
make a motion to accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
I'll second.
All right, so the motion was made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously.
I'll speak with you sometime next week just about the language of the application to make sure we cover that.
Attorney Clara, thank you for talking that through with us. All right. On to our new hearings. We have application 34-22, Campbell Trustees, 8 Pocasset Street in T-Ticket, requesting a special permit to construct an addition to the non-conforming single-family dwelling.
So application number 34-22, William F. and Lisa H. Campbell, trustees, 8 Pocasset Street, T-Ticket, Mass., have applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to sections 240, 10.2A of the Code of Falmouth to construct an addition to the non-conforming single-family dwelling on the subject property known as 8 Pocasset Street, T-Ticket, Mass. For referrals, from Amy Lola Wastewater, the property is connected to town sewer and does have a grinder pump. Looks like there is no increase in bedrooms, staying at 2, so there's no wastewater division comment. From Concom, the Conservation Commission approved the above referenced project through a negative determination under an RDA. Plan of reference and permit are attached. From the Water Department, the existing home is a town water from a 3/4-inch service from a meter pit. If the owner needs additional flow or pressure in the future, they will need to upgrade service to a 1-inch and remove the meter pit, installing the new meter inside the home. From engineering, the application was reviewed for impacts to public rights-of-way and public utilities. Pocasset Street is a private right-of-way in this area. Any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. The project was not direct any stormwater runoff to public property, abutters, or public right-of-ways. And there are dry wells are proposed for the roof, like typically recommended. Fire department has no issues with the project as drawn. From health property on town sewer, they refer to wastewater. We already heard wastewater. And from the assessors department, this includes lots 148, 149, and 150, and all of those are on a land court plan. They did submit a Town of Falmouth FEMA cost breakdown worksheet based on an appraisal of the property and showing that the work is within the 50% threshold as required. And their FEMA worksheet was filled out by a contractor from the property listing all the costs. And there was a previous decision filed on this property 138-02, and that was back in 2002. That's all we have.
All right, thank you, Bob. And Attorney Clara, again, there's 4 of us, so any decision would have to be unanimous tonight.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, Kevin Clower for the applicants, William and Lisa Campbell. They are the owners of 8 Pocasset Street, and they're proposing a minor addition to the existing non-conforming dwelling. 8 Pocasset Street is located at the southern end of Mara Vista. It's a lot of 7,200 square feet in the residential C zoning district, and it is in an AE 12 flood zone. What exists there today is a lovely 1-story, 2-bedroom dwelling and shed. The footprint is, including the porch, is just over 1,500 square feet, being lot coverage by structure of 21.5%. It's non-conforming to front yard setback, being 15.7 feet where 25 is required, and it otherwise complies with side and rear yard setbacks, and the ridge height is 19 feet 3 inches currently. The applicants have owned this property for a number of years, and since COVID has been their full-time residents. They want to modify the property with a small addition to improve the layout and the usefulness of the home. The proposed addition will remove the existing deck on the western side of the house and expand the living space on the easterly side of the house. This will improve the usefulness of the first floor, will relocate laundry from the basement, expand bedroom space, and provide better access to the storage. This will remain 2 bedrooms, which I think is notable because 4 are allowed by right. The proposal is significantly better space for the applicants and improves the floor plan. The result of this application would be an improvement to the front yard setback from 15.7 to 19.8, as well as an elimination of the non-conforming lot coverage by structure. That'd be going from 21.5% down to 19.7. It will remain conforming with side and rear yard setbacks, as well as lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking. And the ridge height will remain the same at 19 feet 7 inches, which is well below the 35 allowed. However, due to the existing nonconformities, this does require a special permit under 240-10.2A, previously 243C. And that section states that pre-existing non-conforming structures can be changed by the board, provided that the alteration is not substantially more detrimental than what exists. To determine that, the board is asked to consider the standards of 240-12.1E and whether the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. Here, there's no new nonconformity created. The existing nonconforming setback to the front yard is improved. The nonconforming lot coverage by structure is improved, dropping down to 19.7%, and it remains compliant with the side and rear yard setbacks. There's no impact to views and vistas. It will not impact views in public ways, and the structure as designed will remain consistent with the surrounding neighborhood in size and scope. In fact, it remains modest relative to the neighborhood. The proposed alteration is a significant improvement of the space for the applicant. It will not create any new dimensional nonconformities. It will improve an existing nonconformity and eliminate the nonconforming lot coverage. It will also result in attractive, useful dwelling, which is in character with the neighborhood. There's no adverse effects to this application, certainly none that would overbalance the benefits I've outlined, and I believe that it meets the requirements of 240-10.2A and 240-12.1E. Based on this information, I would ask that the board grant the special permit, and I'd be happy to address any questions that you might have at this time. And as Mr. Dugan noted, we did submit the FEMA worksheet and an appraisal, so we established that it's not a substantial improvement as far as FEMA is concerned. I think it's a substantial improvement. FEMA doesn't.
Not by FEMA standards, right? All right. Thank you, Attorney Clower. Board questions. Bob, anything?
No, I don't have any questions. Just to confirm, it is residential C?
Yes.
That's my only question.
All right, James.
Nope, looks like a nice project. No.
Jerry? All right. Trying to come up with
The
something.
shed is remaining.
What, shed's
Shed's
remaining?
gonna remain.
But lot coverage is good anyway, right?
Yep.
All right. No questions from me then. Public comment, any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this project? Not seeing any. Back to the board.
No opposition on the file, correct?
No opposition.
Motion to close.
Second?
All right, motion closed made by James, second by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing is closed, passes unanimously, and no more testimony may be taken.
Motion to approve with conditions?
Second.
All right, motion approved with conditions made by Bob, second by James. What do we have for findings?
240-10.2A, 240-12.1E, not substantially more detrimental. They're gonna be constructing an addition to the non-conforming property. Home is a two-bedroom. To remain a two-bedroom, it is connected to the LPSSA town sewer system with a grinder pump. That sewer system does allow 4 bedrooms by right. Concom has approved through a negative determination under an RDA. It is suggested from the water department that they upgrade the service to 1 inch if needed for future flow, and at that time remove the exterior pit and put it inside the house. The addition is on the eastern side of the home. They will be removing the existing deck to create that addition with habitable space. Front yard nonconformity, 15.7. And then the lot coverage nonconformity is at 21.5%. They're actually gonna be doing a reduction of the lot coverage by structure to going down to 19.7%. And they're improving the front yard nonconformity from 15.7 to 19.8 feet. Also put as a finding that Pecasset Street is a private right-of-way in this area. Put a finding that dry wells have been proposed for the project as recommended. Put for a finding it includes lot 148, 149, and 150, and those are on land court plan. Put as a finding that they submitted a FEMA worksheet and also an independent appraisal, valuing the structure alone at $399,150, which makes the improvement threshold $199,575. The total improvements here, $161,468, which is within the 50% threshold, and that was signed by a contractor from the property. So since they meet the threshold, they don't have to upgrade to FEMA standards. Also just put a finding that there was that previous permit, the 130, I think it's 138-07. And also put a finding that the shed is remaining on the site. And it's figured in the lot coverage.
Anything else for findings?
Yeah, that's it.
Conditions?
So do per plans. I'll put in the normal work hours, Monday through Saturday, no work on Sundays or holidays. All building material and equipment is to be kept on site. Any changes to the plans whatsoever would have to come back here. Put a condition that where this was through Concom, they would be in charge of any soil erosion sediment controls if required, so it's gonna be subject to their negative RDA. Put as a condition that dry wells, condition the dry wells even though they're on the plans.
All right. Anything else?
Also in the finding, can you put that it's in the Little Pond Coastal Overlay District in an AE 12 flood zone, and that the zoning is residential C.
All right.
That's all I got.
Sounds good to me. All right, so that was a motion to approve with conditions made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, man.
All right, up next, we have application 35-22, roof 100 Bridge Street in East Falmouth, requesting a special permit to construct an addition and convert an existing deck area on the second floor to a 3-season room.
So application 35-22, Michael J. Roof, 50 Wedgewood Drive, Norwood, Mass. has applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to sections 240-10.2A of the Code of Falmouth to construct an addition and convert existing deck area on the second floor to a 3-season room. Subject property is 100 Bridge Street, East Falmouth, Mass. For referrals. So there was a note here regarding conservation, and at the time it said that they had an RDA set for next Wednesday, which would have been last night. So we don't have anything on that from Concom. From engineering, application was reviewed for impacts to public rights of way and public utilities. Bridge Street and Bayview Avenue are public rights-of-way in this area. No alterations are proposed in the right-of-way. Any changes within the right-of-way would require filing a permit with the engineering division. Any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town departments. The project must not direct any stormwater runoff to public property of butters or public rights-of-way. Comment number 4 says the plans are not clear enough to determine if dry wells are proposed. We recommend that the board add a condition that requires the addition of dry wells for roof runoff. The plans are not clear enough to determine if the shed is shown on the plans is included in the lot coverage calculations, and the number used for structures does not match what is on the application to the ZBA. 6, it appears that a fence and potentially some landscaping are located within the public right-of-way. Note that these do not appear to be shown on the plans. Any installation of objects in the town owned, located within the municipal right-of-way would require a license from the Board of Selectmen. And this should be addressed prior or added as a condition to the approvals. From Kahala Water, the existing home is a town water from a service with a meter pit. If the owner needs any additional flow or pressure, they will need to upgrade the service and remove the meter pit. Installing that within the home. Fire department has no issues with project as drawn. Health has no issues with the project. Septic system is in the front yard per the homeowner. Previously, Health said they need to see a location on the plot plan. Planning, no comment. Assessors, no comment. There is a FEMA breakdown worksheet in the file. The worksheet is signed by the homeowner. I don't see a sign off on by a contractor. I'm just trying to find the assessed values. Okay, it's showing the structural, according to the figures in here, the structure is assessed for $499,700. In the it says on the last sign page that the improvements are $67,800, but it says on the FEMA breakdown they're $80,300, so we'll have to get some clarification on that. There was a previous appeal number 90-99, and that's from June of 1999. No other letters in the file support, opposition, or questions.
All right, thank you, Bob. And you heard this with the 2 previous hearings, but since there's only 4 of us tonight, any decision that we reach would have to be unanimous.
Did you receive the letter about the runoff for this lot coverage for the shed?
We sent it to
I think
engineering.
we sent it to engineering, from my engineer.
No, do you want to submit that? I can submit the file.
All
All
right,
right, this is a submittal, just so you know, it's a, it says, dear board members, this is from GLM Engineering Consultants. It says, this is to confirm that the impervious coverage calculations shown on the proposed addition plan include the existing shed on the property. Please let us know if you have any additional questions. And again, this is from GLM Engineering Consultants, 19 Exchange Street, Holliston, Mass. 01746.
sounds good, thank you for that. So why don't you introduce yourselves and you can tell us about your project?
I'm Michael, my wife Joanne, Roof.
100 Bridge Street, and we were just asking for a special permit to add a 3-season living space to the property. We've got an existing deck on the lower level and an existing deck on the second level that is just unused space. And we thought we would maybe make a 3-season room. And, so that's-
Second floor one comes out of the master bedroom onto a deck, and that 9 by 20 will be converted into a 3-season room. Down below, there's a 14 by 20 3-season room also, off the back of the house. And the right side of our house is 4.5 feet from the town property, and I believe that's why we're here. We did this in 2001. We already said all that.
Here.
For the same reason, when we did the big addition on the house.
All right. Anything else before we turn it over to board questions?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, so, board questions? Jerry, do you want to start us off if you have
No
anything?
question. This time anyway.
All right, James, anything?
How'd you make out with Concom last night?
Good.
We got a, what is it, a negative determination?
Determination?
All right. Anything else, James?
You said there was a discrepancy on the FEMA worksheet.
Yeah, so, I'll actually pass this, you can take a look at it. So on the FEMA worksheet,
Is it the construction costs?
Yes.
yeah, they showed 67.8 and then a total of 80,300.
Like 140,000, I think, altogether.
Yeah, it just isn't added up on the plan here.
You just
Yeah,
haven't
Bill?
picked a contractor yet to,
So just a quick question while he looks that over. How did you come up with the figures on the sheet?
I talked to contractors. I'm in the business, I'm a plastering contractor for 43 years. I've built plenty of homes with other partners, so I know concrete guy, foundation guy, my framer. I asked them all, went through and got estimates from them all.
No, I only ask because usually when we get these signed with the FEMA things, they're signing that they meet the figures from an actual contract.
Oh, they're supposed to be all,
And then the contract usually
individual
signs it to
people.
show that those were the costs.
Oh, I think, I thought we were told, or if the homeowner, so that's why we just did it, that the
Yeah, we
homeowner
just
just.
need to see where the actual costs came from, so like,
Me.
if like you
Okay.
pull up electric costs and you're not an electrician,
Okay,
that's why they do them on the phones. In the,
Do you have a construction supervisor's license?
No. Somebody will be picked after, all approvals are done. There's no, I didn't want to go wasting everybody, everybody's so busy and it's, who you're gonna get. And I know many of them. I work with a lot right in Falmouth. I work with the Valley Group a lot and Fraser Company. So I'll probably end up using somebody like that.
And your architect didn't want to provide estimated construction costs?
He didn't, did he? No, I mean,
I think they could.
he should have, huh?
Oh, I don't know if he should have.
Yeah.
Charged
Charged enough. Charged me enough.
Are there, there was the question regarding if the dry wells are on the plan or not.
They're not on the plan, and yes, we will have something drawn up for that.
Well, we're looking at a potential continuation anyway.
Yeah, so if you want to have any discussion, so,
Well, did you have any questions yourself,
Oh,
Bob?
I'm sorry.
just the dry well.
All right, and my
Yeah, you
concerns
need a
were already
drawing
addressed.
on those.
Just to get it out of the way, I know there's not many people in the crowd tonight, but are there any questions, comments, or concerns, public comment for anything? Attorney Clower?
Are you on the clock?
I'm not. I have no dog in this fight. I've always kind of struggled with this exact question because the building department allows a homeowner to general contract their own project. So there's nothing preventing a homeowner from being able to submit one of these worksheets. I just remind the board that they're gonna have to submit this to the building department when they go and get the building permit, which is gonna have to be substantiated with subcontractor insurances and quotes and fees. So I think that the board looking at this is helpful, but I think that there is still a safety measure there in the fact that the building department's gonna be reviewing this as well. So I don't know that this board necessarily needs to dig into the details of where the cost came from, because they're gonna have to, it's sworn under oath, I think, in the actual FEMA worksheet. It's a pretty significant thing that you're signing that they're gonna be submitting to the building department for the building permit itself. That's my only comment.
Appreciate it.
Gabby Sheets told me that.
How close are they? I mean, I forget what the numbers were.
I don't know, because I'm not an electrician, plumber,
No,
or...
no, no, I mean, no, I'm talking about,
Well under the 50% based on the assessed
You know, it's
value.
under,
that's what I'm saying.
it's under based on the assessment, I just don't know what any of the, miscellaneous costs, there's a figure here of 8,000, I just don't know. On the, just so the board knows, is what we've always used for consistency, is we've always, so that everyone was on the same level, I've always accepted this with, either signed by the contractor, showing that those are the figures, or if an owner did it, some kind of contractor figures of where they're getting the actual figures from, to base it on. But the other question here is that the dry wells are on the plan. We haven't got to the question about the landscaping area that doesn't seem to show on the plan. So we may be looking at a continuation, so the plans can be updated to show the dry wells, the area of landscaping that we would normally condition to be either licensed by the Board of Selectmen or removed if they decided not to get a license. And then they could update the FEMA worksheet, either bringing in copies of wherever they got the figures from, if contractors are giving them estimates, or they could have a contractor just fill out the form. They don't have to use the contractor as long as he fills out that that's what he thinks that the costs were. Because on all the other properties, that's what we've done. We actually just had one a couple weeks ago, that we did the same thing, and owner filled out a form, but wasn't a professional, didn't cover all the contracting areas, so he is gonna go back and get figures from this.
Let's try to clarify at least one thing at the moment. Are you aware of that comment from engineering about the landscaping and versus in the town way?
Yes.
So in most
That
cases,
fence was there when we bought the house,
Okay,
and we have just replaced it. And
It's been there 20 years, we've been, it was there.
so in most cases, it's just a procedural issue that you just apply to the selectmen for, you have to show it on the plan, and you just tell them that you're requesting a license to allow it to remain
Okay,
in the town right of way.
File that with.
Okay.
Most of them I've seen have been approved by the selectmen. If there was something that came up and they didn't approve it, you would just have to remove it from that section of the layout.
well, we were, it's in line with the character of the neighborhood, and
Yeah,
it's
just
really a
because-
protection thing, because they go like 70 miles an hour down Bridge Street, and with kids and grandchildren.
Oh, yeah, and
keeps
they,
them
like I said, they'll
safe.
probably let you keep it. It's just that when engineering brings a comment that they're the ones
Sure.
that are saying it's in the road layout, they're letting us know that we
Yep.
need some kind of an okay or approval or removal.
Sure.
and we can acknowledge that, but it's the select board that actually grants the
Sure.
license.
We get the license from,
The selectmen.
okay.
The other thing is the, Concom just had their meeting yesterday, and according to testimony, they've given a negative determination, but that would also give the board time to actually get a negative determination submitted to the file. So at that point, you'd have all the documents that you would need to make a clean special permit decision.
Are we being extended?
If
Is that what we're doing?
So is this it being extended?
Continued.
Yeah,
Continue.
if we were to do that, are we looking at a quorum issue,
No, you should be covered for
a three?
What's the next, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
the 23rd, right?
No, just
You could,
What's the model advise if
you
you were
have the initial
present for the
hearing.
initial hearing? Yeah,
you just have to have Scott Peterson review the tape
Does
for
it
him
have all
to
But
be
the
able
mul-
to.
Does he have to be here for the initial
Mullen
hearing?
rule, you
No,
need to be here.
No,
for-
you
don't?
you can be absent for one
meeting,
hearing.
all right.
But you have to be here for the initial one, though.
No, no. Or you can condition. I mean, that's,
All right,
So what we
I'm
can-
okay conditioning the dry wells. I'm okay with, given the gentleman's been in the business for a while in terms of the FEMA worksheet. My normal hesitate, I mean, well, what I'm seeing, it's fine. There've been other FEMA worksheets submitted by people who are not contractors that clearly they're
No, that's fine. I mean, we can condition.
not
we can-
representing what it actually costs to do anything down here.
We can condition on the we can condition on the RDA, we condition again the plan updated with the correct landscaping shown that's in the right-of-way, and then condition on the license.
You know, and with the FEMA sheet too, I mean, you can certainly condition the fine, you know.
Well, this condition that
Or we
we
can
have-
just-
That if it exceeds, it has to come back.
Come back.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
fine.
So we might, sounds like we might be able to wrap this up tonight then, if we make all those conditions?
You wanna try it? To be honest, I think it's safer, because I'm not sure about the initial meeting.
Yeah, all right.
I thought you had to be at the initial one, and then you could skip after that. So,
You might be getting a decision tonight then.
Okay.
do you have any, does anyone have any other questions, or?
No further questions?
All right, so if no further questions, then I will make a motion to close.
All right.
Second.
Motion to close the hearing made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Hearing is closed. No more testimony may be taken.
Okay, then I will make
Findings.
I'll make a motion to approve with
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
conditions.
I'm jumping ahead of myself. Thanks, Bob.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Thank you, James. All right, now on to findings.
240-10.2A, 240-12.1E, not substantially more detrimental. There was a plan submitted to the file that was lacking the fence and garden that engineering said was in the public right-of-way, which would need a license from the selectmen or to be removed. And was also lacking showing dry wells for the property. Testimony with the applicant is those plans would be updated. The FEMA worksheet was submitted by the applicant. That does have a developing background. The project is to build 2 3-season rooms, one on the first floor, which is 14 by 20, and one on the second floor, which is 19 by 22. Concom had a meeting on June 6th, June 8th, for a determination of applicability. Testimony from the applicant is that they did receive a negative determination. And we would eventually get that submitted to the file, once Concom has completed that process. Let me go back to this for a second. Put a finding that Bridge Street and Bayview Avenue are public rights of way in the area, and that no alterations proposed in those rights of way. Put a finding that the plans weren't clear enough to determine if the shed shown in the plan was included in the lot coverage, but that the applicant did a submittal at tonight's meeting from GLM Engineering Consultants, confirming that the impervious coverage calculation shown on the proposed addition plan does include the existing shed that is on the property.
Did we get the 4-foot nonconformity on the Bayview side?
Yeah, add
Okay.
the non-conformity in, also that these are 3 seasons rooms, so they're not, there's no use as additional bedrooms or sleeping area. And you can put the health department was okay with the septic that was located in the front yard. Put as a finding that the existing home that is served by town water from a meter pit, and if the owner does need additional flow of pressure in the future, they will need to upgrade that service and remove the meter pit and install inside the home.
Previous special permit from, was it 1999?
Yeah, from 1999, which is appeal number 90-99 from April 29th, 1999. And that was also for Michael Roof, the current owner.
Anything else for findings?
Oh, no, that's all I have.
All right, conditions.
So, condition per updated plan, it is to reflect the landscaping and fence in the town right of way. And also to, have the dry wells shown that are on the property. Condition, that dry wells will be installed for roof runoff. A condition on the negative determination of applicability for Concom, with a copy being supplied to the zoning board of appeals. Condition the work hours, Monday through Saturday, and no work on Sundays unless for emergency, and those in the hours that we use. We did put a finding that they submitted the FEMA worksheet that I had today. Put a condition that is, condition on the building department's approval of the FEMA worksheet that shows that it falls within the 50% threshold for improvements. And also supplying the actual worksheet that's supplied to the building department for the file to the zoning board. Add to the finding on the shed that the shed will remain. So a condition that the applicant is to seek a license from the Board of Selectmen for the items in the road layout, including the fence and the gardens. And that's prior to final sign-off. If the applicant does not receive an approval for license from the Board of Selectmen, that those items must be removed from the town right of way. And that's good.
Sounds good then. All right, so that was a motion to approve with conditions made by Bob and second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, up next, we have application 39-22, Buck, 172 Grand Ave in Falmouth, requesting a special permit to construct a dormer and balcony to the second floor of the non-conforming dwelling, increasing lot coverage by structures.
So application number 39-22, Bruce and Hetty Buck, 21 Old North Street, Westboro, Mass. Have applied to the zoning board of appeals for a special permit pursuant to sections 240, 10.2A and 240, 11.3A4. The Code of Falmouth to construct a dormer and balcony to the second floor of the non-conforming dwelling, increasing lot coverage by structures on the subject property known as 172 Grand Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For referrals. Conservation Commission held a hearing on a notice of intent, which was closed on May 25th, 2022. An order of conditions was voted upon, but had not been issued. I don't know why I thought we received that, so we haven't received that yet. From engineering, the application was reviewed for impacts to public rights of way and public utilities. Grand Avenue is a public right of way in this area. No alterations are proposed in the right of way. Any change within the right of way would require filing a permit with the engineering division. Any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. The project was not directing any stormwater runoff to public property, butters, or public rights of way. Dry wells are proposed for the roof as recommended. It appears that the fence and flagstone walkway are located within the public right of way. Permanent installation of objects not owned by the town located within a municipal right-of-way typically require a license from the select board. And we refer to zoning board for a condition and any approval. Where this project falls in jurisdiction of Concom, we defer to Commission for Stormwater Management and Construction and Erosion Controls. Property is on town sewer and is allowed 4 bedrooms. Fire department has no issues with the project as drawn. From Amy Low with wastewater, no flow neutral variance will be required for this remodel because the plans are for a 3-bedroom home. They did submit a bulk calculation chart, as well as a FEMA worksheet, including a certified independent appraisal for values of the structure, all showing that it falls within the 50% threshold as required under FEMA. That's it.
All right. And Attorney Clara, once again, there's only 4 of us, so any decision would have to be unanimous tonight.
Understood. Good evening again. For the record, Kevin Clower. I'm here tonight representing Bruce and Hetty Book, the owners of 172 Grand Avenue. They're here tonight seeking permission to alter the existing non-conforming dwelling. This alteration would be largely within the existing footprint in order to expand the second floor space. 172 Grand Avenue is located right on the shore of Little Pond, in what I find to be an incredibly confusing part of the Heights. I've been coming here for 25 years, and I still can't find out how to drive down that damn road. So yes, it's on Grand Ave. The
Be
board.
careful, it's a one-way.
I learned that. The board recently granted a very similar special permit just about across the street at 159 Grand Avenue a few months ago. This particular lot is 6,196 square feet in a residential C zoning district, and it is in a VE 15 flood zone. Currently at the property, there's a 2-story, 4-bedroom dwelling. Footprint is just over 1,400 square feet, which is lot coverage by structure of 22.8%. It is non-conforming to front yard setback. The setback to the actual building is 5.3 feet. As you'll see from the plans, the steps are basically on the lot line. The side yard setback to the north is 5.6 feet, where 10 is required, and lot coverage by structure is 22.8 feet, where 20 is allowed by right and 25 by special permit. The existing ridge height here is 19 feet 4 inches. This property was recently purchased by the Books. They've been looking for the right house in Falmouth for quite some time, and they finally found it. But they're seeking to make some minor modifications to the floor plans, which will better utilize the first floor space, removing a small bedroom, improving the kitchen and the living space, and also to increase the habitability of the second floor by changing the roof line. The proposed addition has no effect on the existing non-conforming setbacks. There is an increase to the lot coverage by structure. It's an increase of 32 square feet. It is this cantilevered balcony from the second floor. That is the expansion. That is the only expansion of the footprint. The resulting percentage of lot coverage would be 23.3%. However, with the issuance of a special permit, it is effectively eliminated as a nonconformity. Proposed ridge height would be 25 feet, 5 1/4 inch, which is an increase of just about 6 feet, and well below the allowed ridge height of 35. This does require a special permit due to the existing nonconformities, specifically under 240 10.2A and 240 11.3A4. 10.2A allows alterations to pre-existing non-conforming structures when there's a finding by the board that the proposed alteration is not substantially more detrimental than what exists. Again, you're asked to consider the standards of 240 12.1E, which is formerly 216, and whether or not the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. Similarly, 11.3A4 allows for lot coverage by structure exceeding 20%. And in that case, the board's asked to consider the size and height of the structure relative to the average size and height of structures in the neighborhood, the effect of shadow on adjacent properties, the impact on views and vistas from public ways, and the effect of nitrogen on coastal embayments. In this case, there's no new nonconformities created, though there is that increase in lot coverage. It is within the allowable threshold and would be eliminated as a nonconformity with the issuance of the special permit. There's no impacts to views and vistas. There is an increase in the ridge height, but it doesn't substantially change the view along that road. And there's no effect of nitrogen. In fact, there's a lesser number of bedrooms than at present. It's currently 4, it's decreasing to 3. We did submit a lot comparison worksheet. The property is very much in character with the surrounding neighborhood. In fact, it's one of the more modest homes in the neighborhood. Of the 27 properties within the 300-foot radius, 16 had larger footprints, 18 had larger gross floor areas. We did, as noted, submit both the appraisal and the FEMA worksheet, establishing that this is not a substantial improvement as defined by FEMA and therefore allowed. This project will be an improvement for the applicants. It will improve the property and improve the usability of the first and second floors. It will not create any new dimensional nonconformities. There's no adverse effects to what we're proposing, and we believe that it meets the requirements of 10.2A, 11.3A4, and 12.1E1. I'd be happy to address any questions that you might have at this time. And otherwise, I would ask that you grant the special permit.
Thank you, Attorney Clower. Board questions? Jerry, anything?
No questions.
James?
No questions.
Bob?
Just one question. On A1.1, it shows the basement plan. It shows that the lally columns need to be evaluate the posts and the footings for structural integrity. That's been done yet?
I don't believe so, but that's going to be part of the building permit process. They'll have a structural engineer take a look at that.
That's my one question.
All right, no questions from me, so,
One question.
oh, go
What are you
ahead.
putting in for mitigation plantings down at the bottom right?
Well, because there's a 32-foot increase, they have to mitigate at a 3-to-1 ratio. So that's 96 square feet of mitigation plantings in this corner. What kind of plantings? I don't know.
I was looking for Rosa rugosa trees.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy.
I'm assuming something that grows small.
Something
Yes.
that the Concom likes, thank you.
Like a sycamore tree?
I
I
hate
don't
to
know.
not ask questions.
Nothing that
At least
is
one.
a great barrier to vision.
I was looking at it, I go, what is that green spot? Then I went, oh, okay.
Public comment, any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this project? Seeing none, back to the board.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion closed made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second.
All right, motion approved with conditions made by Bob, second by James.
Okay, 240-10.2A, 240-12.1E, not substantially more detrimental, and 240-11.3A. They're constructing a second-floor dormer addition to the front of a non-conforming property. The current property is a, oh, that's the wrong, wait a minute. So it's 240-10.2A, 240-11.3A4, and 12.1E. The addition is a new dormer on the second floor of the property, including a small back balcony. The current nonconformities are front yard at 5.3, where 25 is allowed by special permit, where 25 is required. Side yard is 5.6, where 10 is required. And then the rear yard is 19.8 to the 3-foot contour of the waters of Vineyard Sound, where 50 feet is required. Lot covered by structure is 22.8%. Where 25% is allowed by special permit. No new nonconformity is being created. The footprint is being expanded slightly, but again, it won't create a new nonconformity. It's in a VE 15 flood zone. Plans show that the post downstairs and part of the foundation needs to be checked for structural integrity. Testimony by applicant's representative is that they will have a structural engineer look at that. Concom had a notice of intent hearing, which closed on May 25th. Order of conditions were voted but not yet issued. Dry wells are proposed on the plans. There's a fence and flagstone walkway that's located in the public right-of-way, which would need a license from the select board to remain. Engineering is determined to Concom from any erosion or sediment controls. Property is on the town sewer LPSSA, which does allow 4 bedrooms by right. With the 3-bedroom home, no flow neutral bylaw variance is required from wastewater. There's a FEMA worksheet supplied, with the appraisal of the structure at $290,000. Threshold of 145, and the total work on the form is within the 50% allowed on the improvements.
Projects in keeping with the neighborhood lot comparison worksheet was submitted.
Yeah, on bulk calculations, I think you also put one in there that the, it's a very modest increase for the neighborhood, from what has been, seen in recent years.
Dramatic growth.
Previously proposed.
Yeah,
Unbridled growth.
yeah, it's nice to see a modest increase on the property. That's all I have.
All right, how about conditions?
So, per plans, condition it on, the Concom notice of intent. Concom will be in charge of any kind of soil erosion sediment controls if required. Just put a condition on there that the posts and footings will be evaluated for structural integrity by a structural engineer. If at any point there's any change that's needed after that evaluation that would increase anything regarding the foundation of the home, that would have to come back to the board. Condition that the fence and flagstone walkway located in the public right-of-way will need a license from the Board of Selectmen or removal if not approved, and that's to be received prior to final sign-off.
So we can apply, right?
You can apply,
Just checking.
just so when final sign-off, they know what they're doing with it.
I mean, we already have the plan. I expect to have that in shortly.
It should be pretty easy with what's there. Yeah, I think that's it.
Sounds good
There's
then.
no other work needed, so there's nothing that, yeah. Oh, work hours, structures and any materials or vehicles must be kept on site.
All right, so that does it then. All right, so motion to approve with findings and conditions made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time and have a great evening.
You too. Thank you, Attorney Clever.
Enjoy the location.
All right, up next, we have application 41-21, -22, McKiernan, 96 Queen Street in Falmouth, requesting a special permit to remove the existing non-conforming detached garage and replace with a shed.
So before we open the hearing, Mr. Chairman, so I have a disclosure that I put in the file. So I actually represented the McKiernans in the purchase of this property back in April 19th of 2021. The closing did happen on April 19th, so once the transaction was concluded, I no longer had any kind of financial interest or business relationship.
All right, thank you for that disclosure, Bob. And,
Do we want to put something in the file that if Mr. Dugan were to recuse, or he's going to have to invoke the doctrine of necessity, just for the purpose of the record?
that would be good to
Otherwise, we have
know.
no quorum. If we just want to make sure the applicant's okay with that.
All right, Mr. Bunker, I assume you're okay with that disclosure and
That he represented McKinnon previously?
previously represented with no current financial interest?
He can be fair and impartial.
Yeah,
Fair and
sure.
impartial to the project.
I'm sure he will.
Sounds good. And you've heard it tonight. Oh, wait, you haven't read it into the record
No,
yet.
now I'll read it.
All right, why don't you do that?
Now that I'm legal. So application 41-22, David Allen McKiernan, 170 Picnic Street, Boxborough, Mass. Has applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to sections 240-10.2A of the Code of Falmouth to remove the existing non-conforming detached garage and replace with a shed on subject property known as 96 Queen Street, Falmouth, Mass. For referrals. From Concom, conservation staff have no comments on the above referenced project. It appears to be located outside Concom jurisdiction. From engineering, the application was reviewed to impacts to public rights of way and public utilities. Queen Street is a public right-of-way in this area. No alterations are proposed to the right-of-way. Any changes within the right-of-way would require filing a permit with the engineering division. Any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. The project must not direct any stormwater runoff to public property, butters, or public rights of way. We do recommend the board add a condition that requires the addition of dry wells for stormwater infiltration for the new roof area at a minimum. Water department, no comment. Assessors department, no comment. Planning department, no comment. Fire department has no issues with the project as drawn. No other letters submitted to the file for or against, but we do have everything in the file regarding the designs for the shed that would replace the detached garage.
All right. And Mr. Bunker, you heard this several times tonight, but since there's only 4 of us, the decision would have to be
I
unanimous.
asked Kevin if he wanted to take this last hearing, but I think he's going home for dinner or
Ran for
something.
it.
For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, representing Mr. McKiernan on this project. You can see I'll show you a couple of pictures. This is at the back of the driveway. There's been some work done since we first filed, and actually I first must apologize. We had an internal communication error and didn't get staked out a week ago. We have a couple stakes there now, but that'll show, it's getting bigger. I'll just go around here, but it's getting bigger toward the inside of the lot, the shed. You see the condition of it, a couple places. It's rotting at the bottom, rotting up the side, windows, and there's our dry well after today's rain.
Is that load-bearing lattice work is my question. That's
pushing it over. You can see there's quite a lean to it. So the project is an existing garage there, as you can see. It's in need of replacement, and Dave McKiernan has identified or is purchasing a shed. It has to be a shed now, not a garage, because it's too close to the septic tank, and so we could not put in a foundation. So that should be on some sonotubes. So in a way, it's not ground coverage, and the water can go underneath it to drain, but we can take that condition to put in a dry well. It would have to go under the garage, under the driveway toward the front of it, because anywhere in the side yard would be too close to the leaching pit. It has to have a setback of 25 feet to the leaching pit. We can put in a dry well up in the front side of it. So this, the existing is 20.5 by 10.4 feet, and the proposed is 12 by 20 feet. It's 30 square feet bigger. And that 30 square feet is growing toward, as I said, toward the inside of the lot. It's getting closer to the septic tank. Because the septic tank is there, it shouldn't come closer. We're keeping the side and rear setbacks the same. As you can see in the pictures, I think that now there's good room around it. I didn't get a good picture of good clear room now that it's all cleared out around it, you know. Oops. Wrong one there. Where so I can go back to this. So it's non-conforming on the side and the rear setbacks. The coverage is conforming at 16.03%, and with the small increase, it will be at 16.38%. So it's still conforming as far as coverage. By structures, the total coverage of structures, paving, and parking is 20.7%, and that's conforming. The existing garage, maybe just because it's sinking into the dirt, is 11.8 feet tall, and the proposed, I have the drawing here, is 13 feet 6 inches high. That's above the post, so it's probably like add 8 inches to that for the height of the post under it, and you'd have about 14 feet 2 inches, which is 8 feet lower than the allowed maximum for an accessory structure. It's designed to look very much like the existing. See the street-facing side has the doors in it, and a door and a couple of windows opening the lawn area. I think it's a very good replacement for what's there now. It's very similar in size. It'd definitely be an improvement to whoever can see it by putting in a new structure there. Don't see any detrimental effects from it. No adverse effects to the neighborhood. No effects for traffic, would increase traffic, no demand on utilities. This is not a garage. It will also not be used as a dwelling unit. It's just for lawn and garden storage. most of these sheds are. And it'll have, I say, one positive impact and no negative impacts with this, if you approve this plan. That's what we're proposing.
Sounds good. All right, board questions. Bob, anything?
No question.
James?
No utilities going out to the shed?
So you,
There'll be no utilities going out to the shed, correct?
no, none that I know of.
Thank you.
I mean, frankly, I don't know of any, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody might put electricity in there, just for a light outlets or something.
It still looks lovely.
Looks a lot better than what it does now.
Jerry, anything?
No question.
All right, no questions from me either. Public comment? Anyone? Nothing from Richard? Back to the board.
Motion to close.
Second.
All right, motion to close made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Motion to approve with conditions.
All right, motion approved with conditions made by Bob, second by,
I'll second that.
all right.
Thank you.
James.
Jerry wanted to jump
Jerry,
in,
you want to jump in?
talking all night.
There we go. All right, Jerry's got the second.
So,
Findings?
240-10.2A, 240-12.1E, not substantially more detrimental. Property is located in the Inner Harbor Coastal Pond Overlay District. There's currently a 20.5 by 10.4 garage that's to be removed. The current garage lacks any structural integrity and is actually rotting at the bottom into the ground. Non-conformities at a side yard setback, which is 5.2 feet, and rear yard, which is 7.0. There will be no new non-conformity with the shed that's replacing the garage. Shed replacing the garage is 20 feet by 12, and the additional 30 square feet from the size of the garage is on the interior of the property. The shed has been designed so that the street view looks very similar to the current garage that exists now, with a door and windows on the interior portion of the yard. The existing lot coverage is 16.03, and the proposed is 16.38, which is well below what is allowed by right. Structures, parking, and paving is 20.67, which is conforming. Ridge height of the ridge height of the current garage is 11.8. The replacement shed will be 14.2, and the shed is being placed on sonotubes. There is no heat or habitable space being planned. There may be electricity at some point for lighting. And testimony is that they're using this basically for yard storage, personal storage.
All right, conditions?
Per plans, not to be used as habitable space. I mean, I don't even know if you do work hours. Is this something that they just, I mean, it really doesn't.
It's small.
They might just drop it off.
Yeah. I guess per plans, I don't know, there's really no,
Do we need to condition the drywall, given that it's gonna be on sonotubes and it's opening up? There'd be-
yeah, you know, I was looking at that too. It does, we've had other sheds put in on sonotubes, and maybe engineering thought that this was something that was
On a
more
slab.
like what was there, because the garage there now is on a slab. I leave it up to the rest of the board. I would think we don't need to condition on drywalls.
I don't.
Testimony had it that the water collects directly in front of the shed. No, I'm just kidding.
No, so why don't we put in a finding, current garage is on a slab. Placement shed will be on sonotubes. Because it's on sonotubes, there's area underneath the property would be used for drainage. So the board is not gonna require drywalls as a condition.
Sounds good. All right. This may have been the most extensive decision we've ever done on a shed.
We never get them.
No.
It's usually a Taj Mahal shed.
All right, so that was a motion to approve with conditions made by Bob, second by Jerry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mr. Bunker, thank you for your time
Thank you,
tonight.
Good luck with the shed.
All right, moving on to our open meeting items. We have voting the minutes for May 5th, May 12th, and May 19th.
we voting all those, Noreen, or is
Just
there?
tabling 19.
So then I make a motion to accept the minutes of May 5th and May 12th.
Second.
All right, motion was made by Bob, second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
I say aye to the 5th, and I abstain from the 12th, because I think that was the date I wasn't here.
So if you abstain from the 12th, we can still approve them with 3? Okay.
Sure, why not?
If you, that's the same, I don't know if I was here on the 12th.
Well, let's just
Why don't we unring the bell then and table them?
we'll table the 12th.
Table all? Or table, oh wait, table
Table
the 12th
12th.
then, yep.
Table.
12th and the
I think
19th.
we're
All
both
right.
on that same day.
Board updates, anything?
The codification is ongoing. They canceled the review from the attorneys because the information is available yet, so they'll do that at a later date.
Fair enough. Anything else for board updates?
This is somebody's last meeting with
It
the
is.
zoning board of appeals.
It was a pretty easy last night
Yeah.
for projects, nothing, yeah, kind of, which is good. It's good not to have issues.
Sure is. But since it is your last night, Bob, thank you for your service to the board.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed the time I had here. I'll keep an eye on you guys from the TV.
I'm sure you
I'll
will.
probably stop in here once in a while.
Might make a couple of public comments yourself.
Yeah,
And how long has it, 16, 17? It's been a while.
it's been a while. It didn't seem as long as it was, to be honest.
Time
That's what
flies.
happens.
So now we'll see what happens with the finance committee.
Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm sure, FinCom will be happy to have you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And hopefully you'll get your board appointments in, so it won't, hassle your schedule.
Hopefully we'll have a full board soon, for sure. All right, anything for board discussions? Besides Bob's departure?
Besides me leaving.
Future agenda items? All right, seeing none.
You know what, before you do it,
Oh.
you really should do a future agenda items on, look into the procedural rules. I think you need to tie down how we're doing some of the rules, like the FEMA worksheets. Anything that, so that it's conforming across all the applications. Just so we don't have issues with appeals or something, because we're doing a lot of, it seems like a lot of the properties are coming up with those FEMA standards,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to know what the, they should know what the setbacks were, and what the thresholds
Source
are.
for the estimates, huh?
Yeah, how to actually do them. I mean, up to date, we've always only taken them with either a contract or something with them. If you don't, then you have to make sure that whatever's submitted to the building department is submitted to zoning so we can see that they match.
Sounds
And
good.
any changes, and my only other suggestion would be, there's a lot of projects that we're doing with peer reviews. And it doesn't seem like there's a peer review schedule once the project has been started. And you may want to come up with a procedure that there is monthly or weekly updates by the peer engineers on projects that are being used, so that if any inconsistencies come up, you know about them in advance, and you don't have to catch up at the end. Other than that, I'll make comments at the open meeting portion of the hearing.
Looking forward to seeing you. All right, so Bob gets the last comments for the night. Our next hearing is June 23rd, 6:30 here at Town Hall. Meeting adjourned.